All right. As the four of them stay seated there, Itai, I think if there's questions directed to you, you must please be on stage. I would like to remind you guys that these are clarifying questions, so this is not your opportunity to tell them of your child playing Yanni who was not selected for the under-13s because of Tabu who got the job. This is an opportunity for you to ask clarifying questions for them. So with all due respect, we are not interested in your white story tonight. There might be another night for that, but it's not tonight. So ask clarifying questions. And usually a clarifying question ends with a question mark. Is that a hand? Yeah.
Very interesting. How do you reconcile hating white racism with being oppressive patriarchs?
To whom are you directing the question?
To the panel.
All right. I think with respect to time, you can choose who it goes to, Itai.
Okay. I think they're both ridiculous. And only my wife can answer this, but I think I try to run my home and interact with women in a manner that minimizes my patriarchal attitude, which are probably subconsciously embedded in me, I won't lie. And I say that even accepting the fact that I don't understand women more often than not. But I try to be an equalist. So I'm an equal of the opportunity offender as far as I'm concerned. So I think both equally bad. I don't know if that answers the question. No,
The work that I speak of when I say white people need to do the work of holding each other accountable both individually and the collective, that's how I reconcile it. I reconcile it by recognizing that I live in a patriarchal society and my actions, even when I'm not aware of them, are problematic. And the issue is for me to be cognizant at all times and not do exactly what white people do to me by placing women in the zone of non-being. What I'm constantly having to do every single day is dying to self, to my patriarchy. I die to it every single day. I'm fully aware that even when I speak to a woman and I interject, there are times when I can sense it that I'm using my male privilege at that moment. And I call myself back so that next time I don't do it again. So how do I reconcile it? By knowing it's there and doing the hard work of being less patriarchal. That's how I reconcile it.
Thank you. Please introduce yourselves. So that was Richard, just so that we know who you are, and we may come back to your question or something you said or asked. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Angela. I'm a Generation Y, so I've not really experienced racism as such. And I have read about it and watched all the movies and everything about apartheid and that. So I am aware, and I just want to commend you guys on the courage it takes to stand up and talk about these things. What I wanted to put to the floor is some potential solutions. And I'm very passionate about a family structure. And what frustrates me a lot, and that I'm seeing a lot, is that I feel like black men fail to commit to their women in marriage. And they have many children with many different women. And I think this places people at a disadvantage because people are going through the world alone, and you can't go through the world alone. You need a family. And I just wanted to ask why that's the case and if my perception is wrong. The next thing I wanted to find out is, why are townships unsafe? I'm catching taxis at the moment, and the first time I caught a taxi, my heart was racing. Why did I feel that way?
Let's have Linda talk about townships and safety, and Tulani, you can talk about why do black men do what Angela says black men do. misunderstood.
Yeah, Angela, that was a why are townships not safe? Townships have never been safe. They're much safer now than they were. Growing up, I was exposed to extreme violence. I would see dead people driving to school. This was at a very young age. And now, what we see is there's more policing, visible policing within townships. In fact, to cut the fluff aside, townships are much safer now. And I'll give you a reason why. Back in the day during apartheid, from what I understand and what I saw, police resources were more concentrated within white spaces. So there were no proper police protocols in townships. And so I'll speak for myself. I was living opposite people that I knew would do heists, would kill people, and would rob people. So I knew these guys. Yet I would also know that police knew about them, but then there was just no proactive solution to deal with it. So townships, or what we're seeing now, is an everyday reality. When you see or you hear about a robbery in Morningside or Fourways, it's an everyday reality in townships. But then in a general note, townships are much more safer than
Sorry, Ty, I want to touch a bit on that. Poverty is a bitch, so it's harsh. I mean, the first time I saw someone get killed, I was 9. The first time a friend of mine got killed with me there, I was 13. Townships are like 100 times better today. And I say this often, more often than I care to remember. The first thing I would have done if I was government, and I mean government with all the power to be government, is get rid of townships, because they're fundamentally wrong. They were designed to ruin people. Small windows, grey spaces, no trees. It's designed to kill people, and that's why they're the way they are. And if anything, we need to build better locations for people to live in. But there's nothing cool about a township, in my opinion. The issue around black men and not being with one woman, it's easy to look at it today and think it's the modus operandi of the black man. I think that ignores the systemic breakdown of the black family unit that happened for decades and decades in this country. Black men were shipped to single-sex hostels in faraway places to go to mines where their women were not allowed to come there. And so habits get developed over time and get entrenched, and they begin to be said to be a culture, because that's just what's been happening. When you are, and I love Fungi, but if I was to spend 10 of the 12 months away from Fungi, I'd probably find another woman to sleep with in that time. And I don't say that as a reflection on her, more as a reflection on me and my weaknesses as a person. And so we had decades of this very deliberate breaking down of the black family structure. And what we're seeing today is the results of that, unfortunately. And I don't know how you solve it yet. I'm working on it. Thank you.
You spoke about your mom, that it doesn't want to have anything to do with white people, understandably so. How does somebody, you can see me, 65 and so on and so forth, you can see where I've come from. How does somebody like me communicate and get through to her? Do I give up, turn, walk away? Is there a chance for me to communicate with her? How do I go about that?
What's your name?
You easy. We can chat till the wee hours in the morning.
Yeah.
How do I communicate with your mom?
Got it. What's your name?
Sorry, I'm Jan Kleinsmith, so that explains everything.
Yanu.
All right.
Thank you very much. I won't place any pressure on people I know on the stage. But my question is very simply, tonight I think that my name is Gatleho. I think that a lot of people, or rather a lot of us tonight, will go back and find out, or rather view, perhaps if we have domestic workers, I speak as a white person, I suppose, if we have those or whatever, and will view the relationship perhaps differently. My question is, how do we remain authentic in seeking the relationship? Because it's very easy for us to be like, no, Lucanio made me think about this prejudice that I have. And I'm not actually wanting to deal with the prejudice and ask the worker, do I treat you like a subhuman being? I want to deal with my feeling good about this thing called Christ and Christianity. And so when he convicts me, I'm not dealing with the sin, I'm dealing with the symptom.
My name is Derek. I'm a lecturer at the University of Pretoria. I understand that, or from what I hear, is that there's a certain expectation from white people to reach out and build relationship. The question I have is, what advice would you give me to become part of government in a structure where I see that I'm also disappointed in a government that not only fails black people, but is failing a country as a whole? And how can I actively contribute to this country to make it a better place?
I think let's take one more question.
Hi, my name is Pika and I'm a logistics analyst with Unitrans. My question is to Lucanio. Lucanio, what you said earlier about when you came in the door, you needed to leave your blackness outside. And in the fantastical, hypothetical situation where everyone in this room would agree to oblige and do whatever you would like us to change that, what would you tell us to do differently, as both as individuals and as a corporate body, to make you feel you retain your humanity when you enter our presence?
Yana, how do you talk to my mom? Let me try and answer your question in a roundabout way. I've spent a big chunk of my life in spaces where people have just hated me for being there. To be frank. And I said this, I started this with a 95 when I go into La School Messina. So disliked, even before I went to the school, that the headmaster didn't believe that I was intelligent enough to be in the grade that I should have been into at that point. He just couldn't believe that I would be able to handle it. For reasons I don't understand, and didn't want me to be in the school to that level. And that continued into the year in there, fighting with people all the time, and in high school. I mean, I opened with, most recent time I've been called a kafir was 6 days ago. That's amazing, to be honest. I've been called a kafir my whole life. It's just that simple. Now, however, I dealt with talking to people or reaching out to people that, for all intents and purposes, just hate me because they hate me. I'm just genuine. I'm honest about who I am, and my conversation with them is not necessarily about addressing their hatred for me. So a very cool thing, and it's lucky that I like rugby, but an easy way to break down someone who is, I mean, a white, mostly Afrikaans guy who hates me, often for me is just because we can talk about rugby, because I happen to like rugby. And if they're in Pretoria, they probably support the Blue Bulls. It's easy. So from that point of view, from that point on. So for me, I think it's about getting to know the person, letting them get to know you, not to try to overly defend or overly, it's about relationship, and maybe know what they like. I don't even know how to talk to my mom, if I'm honest. But I think it's about just getting to know people and letting them know you. I don't think there's a silver bullet or anything of that sort, unfortunately.
The easiest, the number is, let me start and touch on the last thing if you want to mind. Townships were never built to be unified. The entire purpose of townships was that they violent towards black people. But the entire purpose of townships was that black people are violent towards each other, and that they kill each other away from white spaces. when I spoke about spatial racism earlier on, this is the very thing I'm speaking about, that the spatial infrastructure of Africa still continues. It's a pity that we haven't. It's also really practical to expect governments to get rid of townships, because though the role of townships were to destroy people, we also own them. Now, how do you take people away from themselves? There is the difficulty that at the same time we need to criticize the township setup, whilst also loving it, because that's where we grew up, whilst at the same time not over-romanticizing it. You spoke on that, so I wouldn't be able not to respond to this, and I would plead allow you. With regards to black men, the history of it is rare. I mean, black men were the entire apartheid project who has to break us up. And it has, and I said it on, that we simply continue post-apartheid, post-colonial into today. And that if we want to make the work to fix this, it's going to continue until we start giving dignity back to black men, and we start giving dignity back to black women and treating them well. That is not going to continue. It's not enough to anyway. Interesting, I'm going to get this, sorry. If they give me an extra 2 minutes, I want to speak about the intersectionality of race and class. That race, and vice versa, race in South Africa is lived through class, class is lived through race. How do they ask their domestic worker? I cannot think of a scenario where this is patronizing and condescending. I can't. I really cannot give advice that one person suddenly come across as condescending and patronizing. The project I'm on, the two things I'm interested in my writing more. One thing is what we are becoming as people. And Michael Ramsden, there's a talk where he speaks about how different religions are rooted in different things. That some religions are rooted existentially. Some religions are in thinking, in thought, some are rooted in feeling, some are rooted in doing. And he speaks how the difference in Christianity, that Christianity is rooted in being. And what I'm trying to get to here is that that's a simple approach we need to take in thinking of, it's interesting I'm going to say this, but I'll correct it now. In thinking about what we are becoming, it's not enough for you to simply think better about treating your domestic better. It's not enough for you to simply think better about treating black people better. It's not enough to do better. It's not enough to feel and say I feel better about that. The bulk of it is simply being better. Just be better. And a lot of it has to do with us dealing with and living out what the Bible says. That when the Bible speaks of the power and it doesn't treat black people. It doesn't. To answer your question directly, what do? You treat things at the same way you treat yourself? Are you willing to have to? Let me change my tone. Change my tone. That's maybe directly to you. I'm not going to prescribe what you should do, because I think you'll find that we're onto another level of people. We're on homogeneous. There are things I think we wouldn't give the world. We appreciate the things I won't appreciate. What's important though is creating a culture and an environment that allows his expression to play out. And the sad fact is that a lot of our cultures and society and environments are suited to a particular kind of expression. So you find a lot of the time when I say that, last minute, I'm sorry. When I say that what white schools teach us, it teaches how to act in white spaces, they teach us how to have manners in a Western manner, in a right manner. That means looking you in the eye, that means speaking in a particular way. These manners amongst a lot of black cultures are bad manners. Looking at an old person in the eye is extremely rude. The battle I have having gone to white schools is moving looking at because I'm taught one thing, but I don't know what that is Netflix. So what we are taught is that I learned to act in your space and act in what we're going to call now a black space. Then what W.B. Du Bois calls double consciousness. Having a consciousness in both spaces. What people need to learn a trick word or human consciousness. Learn that there's a consciousness, a humanity beyond your own humanity. And that means creating space to allow my humanity, a full humanity, to be expressed differently to you. How that plays out, I don't know. I don't think about the things. I don't know. Can you catch your name? No. There we go. Okay, let me just go back a little. Just quick. I think one thing that we had to realize about townships was that the fathers of apartheid were not dumb. These guys were very smart. They knew what they were doing. And unfortunately, it's what it takes. Smart people also to fix the system. And I think we need to smarter all of it if we are to fix the system. Then, if I want to know the question properly, is how do you or how can you as a white person contribute towards fixing Ghana? Contribute to Ghana. Oh, contribute to Ghana. Okay, contributing, okay. Well, I think I captured it in my speech that, change starts with all of us. So it's one of the things that you do. That change, change is quite contagious. So if you change yourself, your friends change, their friends change. The system in itself, the system works itself out. If one is committed to change. And remember, change is consistent. So I really don't have a solution to how we can contribute, but I think it starts with the small little things that you do. Also, I think the only way we can actually fix, because I think it's a collective effort, government, or contribute towards fixing government or how government functions, is if we stay united. I'll give you a classic example. We're horrified and angry about e-tolls. We're all angry. We couldn't understand where this concept comes from. And the COSATU organized a march. And just before the march, I remember my white peers also venting about e-tolls. But then when it came to marching, this guy didn't work. It didn't make sense. I mean, we complain about something, go out, do something about it. Start with small things. So I understand that if you want a solution, you have to be part of the solution.
So Derek, I think there's an obsession with changing government in this country. And one of the things that get lost in that space is how much good government is doing. Don't get me wrong, they screw up every so often, but they do a lot of good. I don't think that we should all be trying to change government or whatever the story is. I think a big chunk of it is how do we just create a better South Africa, and it is right. It starts with, I mean, how do you live every day? Like, are you the kind of person that everyone can be comfortable around or not? It's some of those things. And you find, actually, for example, and I say this a lot to my white peers, if you can be comfortable to become part of the ANC as a white person, you are probably going to be very close to the president in a very short space of time and be able to influence it in a major way. But people can't even get themselves to be comfortable enough to be comfortable in that space as a starting point.
Well, you're picking up the mic. So I think the question is extremely problematic to all about government. Because what it says is that 62% of the electorate that voted in government is wrong. And that's the lowest it's been. And it is it. And I think it's problematic because it assumes that those who vote in government, the majority or majority black, don't know better. And that the reason these people, black people, I vote for the ANC, will continue to vote for the ANC, is because the ANC has repeatedly improved the livelihood of majority black people. Black people that were historically excluded from government and excluded from society. And the numbers of government continues to do that. And it was a great idea. I will tell you something way back the day. Great idea. And last word is that when we critique government, the way we frame the questions, and I'm going to go back to the question in my final words. Even the question about the black men abandoning their families, the question about countries being unsafe are completely problematic. They're extremely problematic. They aren't historicized correctly. One. Two, they're extremely barbaric and uncivilized. And yeah, that's.
You can't not now. And you are suffering because of what your brother has done, not because of what you've done. So, since I'm the man with the only mic that's live now, just one thing that's worth adding, and a way of thinking about this that's worth perhaps considering. South Africa is a country in which abuse, particularly the abuse of power, has been rife. Definitely since 1652, and probably since before then. Okay, and power abuse is something that's not distinctive or specific to a particular race or group of people or anything like that. It's what human beings are good at doing. We were given power at the beginning. We thought that we were gods, and that's why we fell. And we've been abusing one another with our power since then. And in power abuse, one of the characteristics of it is that the abused ultimately gets used to being in a particular place, in a particular state, and in a particular way. The abuser, ditto. And we need to think hard about the ways in which the structure of society has placed us in various positions. Generally, white people, historically, in the position of the abuser, and starting to unthink and undo those ways. These guys have talked about the abused and what the abused experiences in terms of their feelings, in terms of what women have gone through in this country. And that's potentially a useful way of thinking about it, and I must credit my friend Zolile Mlisana on that. We do have a registration table outside with emails. This is something we want to do again in the future. So please, if you haven't put your email address down, please make sure you do that. And we want to carry on with this kind of conversation. I'm going to hand over to the white guy.
Just one thing before sorry. I'm taking liberties because I've worked hard to almost do it. I've been challenging some of my white friends on this, and I think it's important to lead this year as well. And I think with an exception of Richard here, my experience with conversations with white people is that they are often without enough information about the real history of the country and the real stories behind stuff. And I don't agree with Richard's conclusions necessarily, but I know that it's informed having read things that are not necessarily the kind of thing that people read. So and Angela, sorry to pick on you, you know I love you, but to ask the question around why a black man not marry the wives and not have the understanding about the historic, I guess, the genesis and context of how that family structure has come to be the way it is, it makes the conversation difficult. So I don't know if you saw this, but when you asked the question, all of us almost automatically dropped our heads like, oh my God, I can't believe we have to answer this question. But again, it's because the type of things we're reading are different. And the challenge for me is let's try and find alternate stories, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm reading Richard's Masters just for that fact. Thank you.
In short, what Tulani is saying is, let's educate ourselves and join the conversations. My favorite song at this point for this kind of thing is Bob Marley's Redemption song. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. Thanks.
All right, thank you everyone. I just want to compliment you guys on your wonderful English. Where did you learn to speak English in such a... Sorry, I was called the white guy 5 times, so I had to get something in. Guys, I thank you for behaving yourself. Thank you for the fact that all 4 of them are still alive. And thank you for being vulnerable and listening to these things. And that's what's important. This is a humble attempt, but it is we're trying to educate ourselves. So I really thank you for not having a social life and coming here on a Tuesday night. And I want to thank Brooklyn for doing this, even if it means that Chris is going to lose his job. I really want to congratulate you guys and thank you guys for this. And on that note, they were kind enough to make us some coffee and cold drink on the other side. So if you guys are interested in keep going in continuing this conversation, then please go to the other side, which is the hall at the back of the church, and there'll be coffee, and hopefully these guys will be there to have some interaction.